All right, so today we're going to go over how to get the most exposure for your listing, and these are some of the components of what I'm going to teach today. So, one really important part of our system, and it's a part of the system, Metro List, the employees, tech, training, we create just for you. It's called the Metro List Information Center. It has again, wealth of information on it. I want to share that with you. It can really help you with, again, initial listing input, things to that effect. So we'll be going over that. In there, I will be talking about the listing profile sheets and the benefits to filling out those profile sheets when you're at your listing appointment. We'll then go into entering and revision of a listing. When I'm going into entering, I'm not going to enter a whole listing because, well, that would go a whole lot longer than 45 minutes, but I will show you highlight some fields that I get asked about a lot, show you some tips and tricks as far as listing input goes and whatnot. And then again, the same thing for revision. We'll go into a revision menu of a listing that's already been input, and I'm going to share some things with you all about revising listings and including SuperWeb. So we can actually see who has been coming in and out of our listing if we assign a lockbox to a listing, which is, again, I think a really important part of this program. So I'm going to show that to you. And then lastly, we'll wrap up with CheckIt. CheckIt's a tool that we introduced a few years ago that runs your listing once you input it into the MLS against the MLS rules and tax records, just to ensure that everything is accurate. So we'll be going through that. It's a great little tool feature that we've added here. All right, so let me go ahead and we're gonna go here right to your MLS dashboard. All right, so let me show you a few things here. So to get into the Metro List Information Center, you can actually do that right from here. It's under MLS links, as you can see. So I have quick access to that. I'm going to show you a component within the Metro List Information Center, which is your form. So here you're going to actually see that broken out separately as well. So later on, if you quickly want to access the forms, you don't actually have to click on the Metro List Information Center to do so, but I do like going to the home page because I'm going to net out a few things for you in the Info Center. All right, so let's go ahead and take a peek. So I'm going to click on this little arrow here. And right at the top, you're going to see lots of things from our training calendar, which is probably how you signed up today, a little bit about Prospector Plus and that initiative, different products. This is where you can access forms and documents right from here. And I'm going to show you another location for that. Important part of listing input. I get, I've taught thousands of agents over the years, and I get asked frequently, what's your number one tip is, read through the rules. Now, I know it's not exciting reading. I frequently tell agents to read it right before bed. You'll get a good night's sleep, but it is really important in regards to listing input and your lockbox and whatnot. So absolutely, this is where you can retrieve your rules. You're going to see a help center and then a way to contact us. Now, some of those links here you're going to see reiterated down below, like training calendar. We're going to take a peek here at the forms and documents. This is amazing. When you first signed up with the system, we have a fantastic orientation guide, a quick link to the rules, your co-op key access. We even have some on-demand videos. They're training videos, and you could get tech support help. So love that these are here right at your fingertips. So let's talk about your forms. Very, very important. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and you have lots of access to different forms within here. You'll see here, and I'm going to highlight these as I go. You'll see here your listing profile sheets and even change forms, Metro List applications, agent office form, you have super forms, and even IDX forms. And so you're going to see there's a myriad of different forms you have access to. Today, we're going to take a peek at the listing profile sheets and change forms right here. So if I click on it, it automatically slides us down, which is awesome. So I can see here listing profile sheets is which we're gonna really focus on, but there's also some change forms if you need to do a listing transfer or waive your listing off the MLS, so on and so forth. You'll see you have quick access to those here as well. So, question I get frequently is, Why do you go over the profile sheets, and are they required? They aren't required, but I wouldn't be doing my job as a trainer if I didn't share some important information about the profile sheets. One, if you've never input a listing into the MLS, they're a really good cheat sheet. So let me show you what that looks like. And I could do printable or fillable for residential, and you'll see every property type laid out right below here. Today, I'm going to go ahead and look at residential profile sheet, and we will check out printable. Now, I'm going to zoom in just for your viewing pleasure here. So you're going to see everything in red is required. One of the benefits of taking this to your listing appointment and getting it filled out is when you go to input it within the MLS, these fields are laid out exactly as you would input it. And so it is going to make for very timely listing input because there's 7 legal pages here. So that's a lot of detail and information that you'll input on your listing. But again, everything in red is required. Now also, a second part of the profile sheet that is very, very important is this right down here. And I'm going to read this to you. You're going to see there's a disclaimer and a spot for signatures. So here is the disclaimer. All measurements and all calculations of area and their example, i.e. square footage and acreage, are approximate. Broker has a valid listing signed by the seller authorizing its placement to the MLS. The above information is provided by your seller and other sources and has not been verified by the broker. So before you leave that listing appointment, before you input this into the MLS and submit it and turn it live for everybody to see, you will get the seller's initials and date, broker's initials and date, and your salesperson initials and date. And again, like I said, I've been here for far over a decade, creeping up on almost 2. I will tell you, we've actually had lawyers come to us because of, or come to their agent because of the fact they got signatures and said, hey, this was your $1 million insurance contract. You got this signed. It protected them when there was a legal issue that arose. So again, not required, but I would tell you, I would fill out one with every single listing and keep it with your file, okay? Because it does add a layer or level of protection for each and every one of you and each and every listing. So that's my little tip about the profile sheets. I wanted to show those to you, and they are a great tool when you input a listing initially. They really are fantastic. All right, let me erase that highlighter. I'm going to show you how I got back here, or how I got here initially. So remember, from your MLS dashboard, I did click on the MetroList Information Center and give you a little bit of a tour of the homepage. But if I just want to go into the MLS forms, look at right now under the MLS toolkit right here, I can click on the MLS forms, and that jumps me right back to that page. So here is something else right here in the MLS rules. So if you do not have a hard copy of the rules, you can actually open this up and read it right on your computer, or you could print it off. They even have this really great area called the most asked about rules. And that is really just a good PR spin for the most broken rules in the MLS, right? So if you ever want to take a peek at those, you can see here, here are some of the most asked about rules on the MLS. Okay, a big one, you can see mandatory submission, 3 calendar days. You have 3 days to input your listing into the MLS. That's a big one. And I know this is a given, but your agent ID, password, and lockbox key are provided for your use only. Never share them with anyone. Okay, all listings entered into the MLS must have a valid listing agreement, and I'll let you read the rest on your own time. But I like how they kind of net out some of the rules that they see broken most frequently, the compliance department does. So please, if you get a chance, visit the MetroList Information Center, check out the rules. Okay, again, quick access to forms, training, and even contacting us at MetroList right from here. All right, so let's venture into the next part of this. Doesn't look like I have any questions or raised hands, so I'm going to move on. So I'm going to go and launch Prospector Plus. You're going to see that right here, right under MLS Essentials. I'm sure we all go into this all the time. So I'm going to click on that and you'll see it's going to open a separate window. And by the way, this just happened to come up today. There are some new things that were launched. If you get a chance, please read through that, especially in regards to auto prospecting. There's been some pretty big updates. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click OK because I've already read that. And now we're at the dashboard for Prospector Plus. So let's talk about listing input. So under listings, you'll see there under your drop down, this is considered your listing menu. Now, if you do not see enter new listing, you will need to talk to your office manager or broker. Everybody is granted a different set of rights depending upon your brokerage. Some brokerages have administrators that input your listings for you, so you are not granted access to enter new listing. Now, if you think that you do or you should have access, again, talk to your office manager or broker and you can get set up accordingly. But you'll see here, if you have a listing that you previously input, your listing contract expired, you have a new listing contract, you can copy that listing right on over. This is where you can view and revise your listing. You'll see there is a spot to make a quick change. If you have a listing that you have not completed, maybe you partially entered it into the MLS and you still needed to gather some details, this would be an incomplete listing. An unapproved listing would be, well, you fully input the listing into the MLS with a future on market date. And I'll be talking about that in just a moment. So let's go in and I want to show you the first few steps of entering a listing. So I'm going to go to listings and I'm going to click on enter new listing. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to select a county. So I'm going to go down here and I am going to click Sacramento County and I'll select continue right here. Now you're going to see here it will net out a step 1, 2, and 3 for you. By the way, I will go all the way to step 3, but I will not submit this listing because it's going to be very fake. And we are in a very live system. Note, you guys don't like it when I put fake listings in the live system. Surprise, surprise, right? So just to set expectation for what we're going to be doing next. Now, I do use an address. I've been using the same address since I started working for MetroList. So I want to show you something. So we're going to enter an APN or address. So what I can actually do here is I can search county records. So let me type in this address, and if any of you think this looks familiar, it probably is, because this is the Sacramento Association of Realtors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click search, and once I pull this record up and I click select, it will auto-populate for a lot of different counties. It will auto-populate or autofill tax data, which can end up saving you time for listing input. So highly suggest running that search initially, and if your county allows it, autofill that tax data so you can see it added the APN, added the address. So, and it will actually add detail within your listing, and you'll see that in a moment. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place this pin on the map. So it's going to geocode, which is longitude and latitude based on the assessor parcel number and the address, and I want to ensure that this is accurate. So I'm waiting for it to pull up, and this is something that I like to point out. This is really important here. The address for this listing was, and look at it says successfully mapped. This listing has been mapped and can now be found using 2 of our most popular searches, by the way, the radius or map search. So absolutely, when you input your listing, a note to each and every one of you, double, triple check that. If it says unsuccessfully mapped, there's something off with either the APN or the address. And sometimes no fault of your own, call tech support and they can help place your listing correctly so that it will be able to be located on a radius or map search, two of our most popular searches within the MLS. Okay. All right. So next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go, that looks great. I'm good to go. I can go and continue to listing input. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And that is going to take us to what they consider your step 3 here. In just a moment. Let's see here. So if this does not let me move forward, which is very odd, I will go into a different listing. Let's see here. Let's try this one more time. Sorry about that. Let's see. All right. So instead of pausing, I want to make the most of our time. I'm going to go into a recent search. And actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to just pull up a listing that I was going to go into later on anyways. So let's go ahead and do this. Oops, excuse me. I meant to click on carts. So I'm going to go into a listing that is currently pending. And I'm going to click revise. So let me show you what step 3 would have looked like. Okay. So I'm going to click on listing information. And you're going to see this is step 3. Everything in red is required, by the way. So you'll see here, I'm going to just scroll down. And I do get a lot of questions on what does this mean? So what is listing service? 99.9% of the listings are going to be full service listings. Limited service, and that would be netted out in your listing contract. That would be that you might be offering some services, not all. And again, that would be clarified between you and your client. Entry only, which I do see frequently as what we lovingly call FSBOs or for sale by owner. Again, it's part of your listing contract. Usually what I see, it's a flat fee. You will input the listing for that homeowner. You might change status, but they do all the contracts, they do all the marketing. And again, that's considered entry only. But again, 99.9% of the time is going to be a full service listing. If your listing does have any special listing conditions, you can notate those here. Oh, something I want to point out, I'm sorry, I'm going to go back here. If you do have questions on listing service and full or partial service or any of those 3 options there, you can always come in and it actually links right to the rules to let you do a little further reading, just in case you're curious. I love that part of this. So as I come down here is my listing period. And look, I have a future on market date. This is fantastic. What if this property, I am not ready to market it? My client is going to be out of town for 30 days, but I want to get a jump on entering it into the MLS. I can do so with a valid listing agreement. I can go and put my property in the MLS up to 120 days out. Maybe there has to be some repairs done. It could be a myriad of different things. Maybe there's some pest work that needs to be done. Again, maybe your client's out of town. So for whatever reason, you can put a future on market date. But what that means is you cannot market your property in any way, shape, or form until that date arrives. Now you can talk about it within your own office. But again, as far as pitching it at meetings, putting a for sale sign or coming soon sign up, that's a no-go. So it is a lovely option for those of you who want to get a jump on inputting your listing into the MLS. Now, if your listing's ready a little sooner than what the on market date states in here, you absolutely can change that. So you can change that as you would like. So if it's ready a little bit sooner, you can turn it live and it will be then approved in the MLS. Again, it's a lovely tool. There is a little document about it right here that you can click on and access as well to read a little further about it. I love it. Okay. Again, there are so many different fields within here. You're going to see showing instructions. You'll see the showing contact information. I can see occupant information. So this is what you would be, getting off of your listing profile sheet and filling in. You know, something that they added last year is the square footage source and the lot size source. If it does pull from tax records and it's not accurate, you can absolutely come in here and you can go, okay, well, I got that information from the owner, okay? And you can modify that as you would like. Of course, I'm not going to modify this listing. Down below, I'm going to see lots of other detail. Now, question I get frequently is, what can I really do to market my listing in the best light possible in the MLS? And I will tell agents, I will tell you what I've been telling agents for years. Fill out every single detail, required or not required. It's going to be that one agent that would have been searching for a property that, let's say this was a, you know, let's say a Cape Cod. I'm just using this as an example, okay? And this listing would not have pulled up because that agent did not fill in that non-required field. You have to? No. But the more you input, the more searchable you make your listing in the MLS, I promise you. So there's a lot of information in detail. I am not going to go over every single one of these. But what I am going to scroll down to, and I apologize for the quick scroll, please bear with me. Okay, you're going to see here, I have a listing agreement. I have photos provided by. Do I want this on the internet? Do I want to show the address to the public? I can. And now look at this. Here are your public remarks. These are your marketing remarks that go to the public websites. If you do have questions in regards to marketing remarks or the public remarks, you can see it links to the rules right here. Same thing with private remarks. Again, you'll see it linked to the rules. And as I scroll down a little bit further, you're going to even see directions to the property. This will even share with you the character count of each of these fields. Directions is 500, private remarks is 1300, and public remarks is 1000 characters. Okay. Now, normally when we would come in and we would go to enter a new listing, we could save this as an incomplete and exit if we had not completed the listing. Let's say we still have some information to gather. Otherwise, we could submit and then we would add photos to the listing. So I'm going to cancel out of this. And again, this is your revision menu. So let's go back through. I went to enter new listing. We selected a county. We selected a listing, and then we went through step 1, 2, and 3. Now today, the way I went about it, just again for time reasons, and it seemed like it was not allowing me to go into step 3. I'm not quite sure why. I'll explore that later. But is I just pulled up a listing, but normally that would have taken me into this page right here. Okay, so the listing information page, I would fill that out accordingly. Now, for revising a listing, there are 2 different ways we can do that. So we could go into listing and we can view revise our listing. You're going to see this is what the menu looks like, and I'm not an agent, so I have absolutely no listings. Okay. Or I could have just pulled my listing up in a search. So let's go back to that cart. I'm going to click on this cart that I've saved, and here is that quote unquote listing. Now here, if I click the revise link, that's going to take me into revising the listing. If I click on the listing number, I could also pull up my listing and again, click the revise link and it will allow me to modify my listing. So you have access in a couple of different ways. Now, if you need to, so this is the back end. So if you need to revise your listing, you need to change your status. You can see this one's currently pending. I could click status information and you're going to see here is pending. I can, again, come in here. If it needed to go temporarily off the market, that's where I would notate that. If I had a price change, here we go. But this is where I would put, okay, well, I had pending date, multiple offers, number of offers. Now, when I close the listing, I will have to fill in this appropriate information. Okay. So again, you have 3 days to input your listing, 3 days to change the status, 3 days to close it. Now you won't see this map pin placement, but if your listing does not pull up in the accurate location, this is a tool that myself as administrator, tech support can use to help you place your listing in the appropriate location. If you would like to add a virtual tour, this is the menu to do so. So you're going to see here if you have a 3D showcase, a voiceover, floor plan, aerial view, okay, you can put up to 5 virtual tours within your listing. Let me go back here. Here is where you will upload and manage your photos. You'll have up to 99 pictures that you can add in on your listing within the MLS. And if I click here, just to show you, this has been updated, okay? So this was one of the changes that was made last night. But what you can do is you can add pictures. I can come in here and this will allow me to edit. So if I want to come rotate or crop the image, I can. Okay, I can also rotate here. You can see here, I can rotate that to the left or to the right. I can also delete this. And right here, this will allow you to move the photos in the appropriate order. Okay, if I select properties, again, I can rotate all to the left or right, or I could delete the selected properties. So this is a new look for the property photos, and it's much cleaner than it was before. So you guys are the first class I've got to show this to, which is awesome. Absolutely makes a little bit easier for you guys, for sure. Okay, we're going to scroll down and let's look at some other. This will allow me just to see the listing detail. I can view my property history on my listing, delete or look at reverse prospecting. These are just some other tools, reverse prospecting. Upload and manage attached documents. So you can add attached documents, and why this saves you time is these are things that you are not having to send to the buyer's agent. They are automatically attached to your listing. So let me show you. I'm going to click here, and you're going to see when they add documents that are called other, they can give it a custom label. Again, this was something that was updated within the last year, year and a half or so, that you can add your own custom labels. Okay, you can see the roof inspection. Okay, you can see a solar contract in here. And if I click add here, you're going to see there is a whole list of different attachments. Okay. But again, if you do want to just add an other, you can absolutely do so. Give it a name and then upload that particular document. Very helpful, hugely time saving. Okay, as I scroll down, you're going to see here, these are agent hits. This is one agent, clicks on your listing number, looks at your listing. Look at this, 1,515. Client hits, those pull from auto prospecting, and I love sharing that with you because I do get a lot of questions on that. So when an agent sets up that automated drip system and their client looks at the property, that it constitutes an agent or a client hit, because frequently I get asked, where do those come from? Do they come from the public website? Do they come from, and they come from auto prospecting. The next tool that I want to talk about is your lockbox. So let's talk about this. I'm going to click on Supra. For first, so one thing I find important is that I think it's so important to assign a lockbox to a listing, whether it's a $2 million listing or a $20,000 listing. That way you can see who's coming in and out. I have heard so many incredible stories over the years of teaching, and not everybody does this. So I'm going to click on this right here. So you're going to see it will automatically pull up the address, the MLS number. You will put your key box serial number and your shackle code, and you will click save. And that is how you assign your lockbox to your listing. Now you have some administrative tools that you can control, and they're called Supra lockbox settings. Let me show you. So you can actually restrict the key key box access hours. You can see here, I believe this is standard 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., but you can absolutely modify that once you log into SuperWeb. You're going to see call before showing code. Do you want feedback? Hey, this is great, you guys, especially if you have a property that's not moving. You get that feedback, you take it back to your sellers in a constructive way to maybe negotiate a price reduction. So that is awesome, a little tool, and they, don't have, they have feedback, no, but I love that little tool that you can set up within SuperWeb. Now I'm going to show you the most important part of assigning a lockbox to a listing. So if I click here, Supra showing activity, I'm going to click on that. And now look at this. I can see who's coming in and out. I see date and time, and I can see here, Katie came in a multitude of times, so on and so forth. And again, we're getting a question here. Okay, so where do you get the Supra lockbox? You can actually get that from your association. So whichever your board, whatever board is yours is where I would go to purchase a lockbox. Okay, and they will absolutely be able to assist you. They will be able to code it for MLS areas, and you'll be able to go and put it on your upcoming listing. But again, you can see, look at how many different agents showed this property, and I love the fact that I can see who's coming in and out. Okay, so I think that's really highly important. Now, one of the other tools I want to talk about today is this tool called Check It. Now, there's a couple different locations you can access Check It in. This is just one of them. Now, your listing has to be live in the MLS. So you've had to have submitted your listing. Then you can use this really nifty tool called Check It. So, and a lot of agents who are new love using this. So I'm going to click on Check It. And it is going to run this listing against the MLS rules and tax records, just to confirm that this information is accurate, appropriate. Now, you will see here, items highlighted in red may be your detected violations. So what would you do? Reach out to compliance, and they will help you rectify the situation, okay? And again, as soon as you input your listing into the MLS, I would do this immediately. And you can see there's no red on this listing, okay? But this is a fantastic tool. Now let me show you where else you can access Check It from. So I'm gonna go back to carts. I'm gonna go to showing activity. And let's go into this listing here. It's a closed one, but we'll click on it. So this is also where you can access Check It for your own listing. So here, if I click on Check It, again, it's going to run that listing detail against the MLS rules, okay, and tax records. Now, something else that I want to show you from the listing details screen. You'll also see that you can actually go into your SuperWeb, your lockbox settings right from here. So if I click on that, again, I can actually see all my settings. I could log into SuperWeb and I can set up all of the details for this particular listing. Also right here, I can see the showing activity. So not only in the revision menu, but also within your listing detail page on your listing, you can click on showing activity. And this is a different listing, but look at this, all this activity, I can see who's coming in and out. I could contact those agents who showed my property multiple times. What do you think? Okay. Both of these listings had a absolute plethora of showing activity, which is awesome. So question, and let me go back to this page here. So I'm getting a question, and thanks so much. It's a great question. Can you use Check It in rough draft mode as you're entering the listing before you make it live? Unfortunately, you cannot. But again, what I would tell you to do is as soon as you go in to check it. And if it's something glaring, you go, oh, you know what, but maybe you're unaware or unsure of, call the compliance department. That's what they're there for. You're not going to get dinged. You won't get a fine. You call right away and they will help explain why that particular item is in red. So that is something that I recommend to you. All right. Now, one of the last places you can access SupraWeb, and I want to show this to you just really briefly, it will be on your dashboard here. So as I scroll down, you're going to see you can also access your SupraWeb lockbox settings right from here. Okay, I can come in, I can click on it, I can put in my key, serial number, PIN, and association right from here. Now, when your listing is live, something else you will see here. You're going to see your listings. It will show you your incomplete, unapproved, overdue pending, expiring within 14 days, or even any that are missing pictures. Now, just to share with you, these modules can be moved. So if I want to move this up right next to, my single sign-on, my SupraWeb, I can do so. Now, if you do not see this single sign-on or your listings module on your MLS, your dashboard for Prospector Plus, it's this little cog right here that will allow you to go in and add or remove these modules. So if I click here, you're going to see here, and if I want to turn it on or off any of those modules, I absolutely can. You can see here, and I can even see if my listings is not on, I can turn that on. And again, it would show right here on my home page, my dashboard. All right. So you guys, what we went over today, and please feel free if we have any questions, ask away. We went over our MetroList Information Center. The rules are incredibly important, as are your profile sheets. Now, again, key to the profile sheets is getting those signatures before you turn your listing live in the MLS. If you turn your listing live and then get signatures, those signatures are null and void. So you have to do it before you submit your listing. Just a little tidbit there. Okay, so those were your profile sheets. We talked about entering and revising a listing, and I showed you all the different points of where you can access the rules. We talked about on market date, which is a great tool to leverage within the system. You can input your listing and up to 120 days out. When your on market date arrives or you change your on market date, it will show live in the system. Just remember, with on market date, you cannot market it in any way, shape, or form before that date arrives. So it's a really, really great little option to leverage in here. We talked about SupraWeb, assigning our lockbox to our listings, our settings. And that way we can see, you saw both of those listings, I could see who was coming in and out, date and time. And then again, I really feel like that adds a little level or extra level of security to the listing. Lastly, we talked about Check It and how we can run our listing against the MLS rules and tax records. And I showed you from the revision menu how you can do that. And once your listing is live, you can click on the listing number and do that as well. All right, you guys. Hey, thank you so much for your time today. It's truly my pleasure to show you and share all this information with you. So here is the name, is our MetroList Education Department, our phone number, extension, and you can always reach us at training@metrolist.net.